Welcome back to the Investor Professor podcast. This is Dr. Ryan Peckham, and this is episode 108. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the average age the Wall Street Journal says that you are most likely to make the best financial decisions. Let's hope we can do better than this number. We're going to talk about the average age that the Milken Institute thinks that you should be to start saving for retirement. And we're also going to discuss financial planning for entrepreneurs and people who are starting their own business and some strategies that you can use to make sure that you're successful. Entrepreneurship is incredibly difficult, and one of the main reasons is because in the beginning, the finances are so erratic. So we're going to look at some strategies to help you stay in business. All that on today's episode, so get your mind right, and let's get to work. Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. Appreciate you joining me for another week here. And so this week's topic came from Instagram, basically, when we polled everybody, what are the things you want us to discuss? The first one that came up was the episode we did a couple weeks ago, which was just financial stress, managing financial stress. And then the second one was some financial tactics for entrepreneurs and people starting their own business or people who are thinking about starting their own business, and what are some things you can do. So we'll look at that here in just a minute. Let's discuss the market did not have a very good August, especially the NASDAQ index, but the final week was actually pretty good. So this past week, the market kind of corrected itself. Looks to be a pretty good opportunity to head into the end of the year, have a nice, strong end of the year. September historically is not that great of a month either. Normally, as we head into kind of September, October, it's a little bit flat, and then we have what's called the Santa Claus rally at the end of the year. So we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to point out a couple news stories to you. The Milken Institute Center for Financial Markets conducted a study and said that the average age where most people should start to save for retirement is 25, right? 25 years old, start with $100 a week and start to save for retirement, generate more than $1.1 million by the age of 65. But there is still around 25% of Americans do not have anything saved for retirement. And around half of Americans, it's kind of crazy, half of working Americans still do not have access to an employer-sponsored retirement plan, meaning that your retirement is left up to you. You need to open an IRA somewhere by yourself. IRA stands for individual retirement account, or just a traditional brokerage account to be able to start saving money. But there's still just a ton of individuals who aren't saving for retirement. And, there's only 24% of workers who feel confident they'll be able to retire comfortably. And so that's kind of a dangerous word, right? What does retire comfortably mean to you or somebody else? Could have completely different definitions. And so when you look at healthcare costs and all these things, it makes it very difficult for people to start saving for retirement. You look at students who have loans to pay back. These loans, if you have a lot of student loans to pay back, that basically is a weight that you're carrying around, and that's money that you can't put back for retirement. We're going to see how that goes when students have to start paying back their loans. And so it really makes it difficult for somebody who's younger to start thinking about, man, that sounds great, right? Like, that sounds great. I'm going to start saving for retirement, but hey, I'm trying to pay back student loans and I'm trying to save money for a house. So, when I get those two things done or three things done, maybe then I'll start thinking about saving for retirement. And so that's one of the main issues with getting younger people to start saving money, is just that you're trying to do all this stuff in your 20s. And quite frankly, I consider your 20s your broke decade. I mean, most 20-year-olds are trying to get back to the standard of living that they had with their parents, and it's just a difficult thing to do, especially if you grew up in a place where real estate has gone bananas, and California, places like that, and you're like, how am I supposed to buy a $1.2 million home? I mean, it becomes pretty daunting and is mentally exhausting for a lot of people to just even think about. So, you got to take care of yourself. You got to come up with different ways to be able to do that. So I'm partnering that study, right? So that study by the Milken Institute says, hey, you should start saving for retirement at 25. And then the Wall Street Journal came out with a study, came up with an article that asked, what is the age where you make the best decisions financially? And the research of this showed the prime years for making smart financial decisions on average are between the ages of 53 and 54. Okay, well, that's helpful. And, I'm looking at that going, man, surely myself, those of you that are listening to this, we can do better than 53, 54 for financial decisions. But it says around that age, people have enough knowledge and experience about money, and they haven't started to lose certain cognitive skills, right? So we're still making good decisions, but we haven't started to lose any of our ability to make these decisions. And so you're going, man, geez, I mean, they have life experience, but now it's like, now you don't have the time. Most people that are in their 50s don't have the time to make up for the compound effect that they lost early on. And so, there's got to be a balance there. There's got to be a way to be able to save money and all the things that you're trying to save money for, but also put yourself on a good footing to have a base to save for your retirement. And so, we focus a lot on financial literacy and allowing yourself to be able to study money and all the things that go into it, not just the terms and the definitions, but also the behavioral finance piece of just how do we naturally interact with money, and what are some of the main things that people kind of mess up on. And so, reading those two, I'm kind of just hitting this point a little too much. I mean, you got to figure out a strategy that works for you, where you can work on all of these different things and not lose focus. It doesn't mean that you have to be doing this stuff all the time, but you should have it in the back of your mind. Like, okay, these are the things I need to work on. I know I'm financially, I can't do it at this exact moment, but you just never lose that focus. And if you can do those things, you're definitely going to put yourself in a position to be far better than average. And your older self will thank your younger self for having that vision and sticking to it. So the main point of today's topic, though, is entrepreneurship and financing entrepreneurship, and what are some financial strategies that people who are starting their own business or want to start their own business can do. And so I'm coming at this from a person who does have their own business, but also, I worked in banking for 7-8 years. I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. When I was a professor at another university, I headed up the entrepreneurship department. I helped run a city contest, basically kind of like a city version of Shark Tank, and distributed funds to winners of that program to help launch their businesses. And so I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. I have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, probably more than most financial people. And so when I'm looking at this, there's a couple things. I wrote down a list here of 6 different things that you need to be aware of when it comes to this, because most entrepreneurs, one of the reasons they fail is finances. I mean, they don't have enough money coming in, or they're not managing it well. And so you really have to be proactive on this. And so one of the things I always ask my entrepreneurs is do you have a hobby or do you have a business? Okay. And, it's great. I mean, a hobby is fine. Like, are you trying to just support this hobby that you're working on, this interest that you have? Are you actually trying to turn this into a business where you can support yourself and your family and whatnot? And it's fine. I mean, whichever one you have, if you have a hobby versus a business, it's fine. You just need to be aware of which one it is so that it kind of sets the expectations for you. And that brings me to kind of number one on this list, which is unrealistic timelines. So if you're starting a business and you expect to be successful in the first 6 months or the first year or even the first 2 years, you really have to, kind of reevaluate those expectations. And so I've known very few business owners that have been able to just be profitable right from the get go and never look back. I mean, most of the time it's going to take a little bit. There's going to be some struggles there. You're going to have to make some adjustments before things really get going. And so, if you think about it from that standpoint, like, you're going to have to give yourself a little bit more runway than maybe you expect. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses fail because they just didn't give themselves long enough to succeed. In a lot of businesses, you just need to be in business long enough so that people understand what you're doing, they understand the value that you can bring to them, and you just got to be in business long enough for enough people to discover that you exist. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who just can't make it financially because they're not independently wealthy, they don't have income from another source, and they just at the end of the day, I mean, you got to keep your lights on and you got to keep a roof over your head, and sometimes you just can't do it. Like, you just have not been in business long enough. Second would be different banking relationships and not establishing banking relationships before you go on this entrepreneurial journey. It's interesting that, unfortunately, the way the banking business works is that if you don't need money, you can borrow as much as you want. Like, I would let Elon Musk borrow as much money as I have, right? Because I know that he can pay it back. But unfortunately, if you need money, nobody wants to loan you any money. So setting up banking relationships, a line of credit for your business, maybe a business credit card, whatever it is, you have to set these things up before you really need the funds, because if you really need the funds, nobody's going to give it to you. And so it seems counterintuitive, but when you don't need, financial assistance, you need to go establish those relationships. Community banks are great for this. This is kind of, having a personalized relationship with somebody in the community that's starting to start a business or getting things going. You want somebody local who can kind of understand what you're doing and buy into that, but you really need to set that up before you're already, before you've jumped out of the airplane without a parachute. I mean, you really, have to be methodical about it. You got to be proactive, and you got to set these things up from the get-go. And so kind of the next one on this list is, not using different resources that are available. If you're listening to this in America, everywhere in America has a local SBDC office. So SBDC stands for Small Business Development. And so this is funded by the government. Their services are free. They will help you come up with a business plan. They can give you the statistics for the type of business you have, and if they've been able to be successful, what's the attrition rate for those type of businesses in this community. All they do is work with small business owners, and so they're located in each different community all over the nation. They have numbers specific to that area, as well as locally, regionally, state, nationally, and they can tell you like what type of businesses make it, which ones don't. And it's free of charge. Like, this is a service that the government provides that many people do not even know exists. So they can help you develop a business plan. They can help put you in touch with local bankers. They have relationships already set up, and so many young, or just and I don't mean young in age, I mean like, young and new entrepreneurs, no matter what your age, so many just have no clue that the SBDC is even around. And so you can go to their website, you can type in your zip code, and it'll tell you the closest office available to you. And so this is also a kind of a twofold type benefit, because not only can they help you with all these services for free, but they can also put you in touch with other entrepreneurs. Many times they have different places where you can office with them, like they have just like little workspaces and things of that nature, or they're close to that, close to people who provide those services. And so they can really, you basically turbocharge your research and your ability to link up with other entrepreneurs, and for them to just be able to give you statistics on things that you need to do, and also educate you on the steps that you need to take to kind of build the foundation of your business. And so a lot of times we have an idea, or we have something we're working on, and we're an expert in that area, whatever that business might be, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're an expert in running a business. And so they can definitely help you do that from the get-go. So the other one, number 3 is, I don't even know if it's number 3. We'll go with that. Is no cushion from the get-go, no financial cushion from the get-go. And I mean, I've seen people who didn't have enough money. They're going to open a restaurant. They didn't keep enough money to be able to buy the food to open the restaurant. I mean, you cannot start a business with no financial cushion. I mean, you hear this all the time, like, hey, so-and-so went for broke. And, if I'm going to open a business, I got to go broke too. Well, the problem is, if you go for broke and you find it, you never have the ability to maybe start a business ever again. So all the lessons you're learning are now gone, right? So you have to give yourself a cushion. You got to have some financial savings or something, or a job, and we'll get to that later, to be able to help get this thing off the ground. Like, do not do that to yourself, because if it's the wrong time with the economy or whatever, all of a sudden you're out of business before you ever even really started. And so the next one on here is a new one I've added. And I don't know how this will go over, but I mean, it kind of is what it is. But I've noticed, like on social media and things like that, we pretend to be too big and successful too quickly. So what I mean by that is, where on social media, we're projecting that we have everything under control, that our business is already successful, even though we just started 2 weeks ago. And so because of that, we're trying to promote that illusion that we're doing well, and so we don't need any help. And if you're a business starting out, or even a business that's mature, you're going to need some help. You're going to need some people to help you out. You're going to need to be able to ask somebody, hey, like, I need some help on this. Is there anything you can do? Is there somebody you can introduce me to? Is there a referral you can make? And, if people don't know that you need help, they're just going to assume, hey, this person's doing great. I mean, like, they obviously, don't need any help, or they don't know how to help you. And so you got to put yourself in a position where you can ask for help every once in a while. So don't be afraid to tell somebody, hey, like, man, I'm really kind of struggling. Like, this month has been tough. My first quarter was really good, and then it's kind of fallen off. I mean, I don't really know why. Is there something that you can do to help me? Is there an introduction you can make? Whatever it is. But it just seems like, when I see these social media posts of so many different people, it's like, I just started this business a month ago. We're already crazy successful. And it's just, I don't know. I just think that it's okay to ask for help if you're struggling, especially if you're a new business and you're starting out. And so that goes back to, I've told my story numerous times, but like, I didn't like the financial pressure of starting a new business and just having that financial weight on me. And so I always had a job to help me get by. And so it's okay to have a job and to, be working that job during the day and be working on your passion at night. I mean, that is something that so many of us do. And it's okay. It's a noble thing to have a job to support you, to provide the stability, that allows you to be free to pursue your passion. And for me, that came from the book Quitter. I think it was John Acuff. But the book Quitter, talked about, work your day job while you build your dream job. And you got to figure out what works for you. Not all of these things work for everybody, but you got to find the path that is yours and lean into it and do whatever you can to stay in business long enough. I mean, you got to be able to stay in business long enough to really be able to give yourself a shot. And find your why and your passion and whatever it is for you, whether it's to change your family tree, change the direction of your life, give you back your freedom, give you control over your day, whatever it is that you're going after, give yourself the ability to be able to do that. And so when it comes to that, the expectations, you're not looking for perfection. It's progress, not perfection. Right? Progress, not perfection. So when you look at your business, if you've been in business for a while, are your numbers improving? Like, numbers do not lie, right? So are your numbers improving? Is your business getting better? Do you have more revenue sales this year than you did last year? Are you actually tracking the figures of your business? And we got a smarter audience, but a big mistake that I see, somebody starting a business is they have their business expenses and their personal expenses in the same checking account. You can't do that. You cannot. You got to have separate bank accounts. I mean, you're running a business. This is, and this goes back to the hobby versus a business. But when you're tracking the numbers, you can go back and look at those numbers and is this improving? Are my numbers improving every year, every quarter? Are my numbers getting better? Am I really working on this business and I'm seeing improvement? Is that happening for your business? And then you have to self-reflect and say, well, have I been working on my business? Are my numbers improving because I've been working on it, or are my numbers not improving because I really haven't been working on this business? I'm not sure this is going to work out. Maybe I need to do something else. So there is a point in time where maybe this isn't the business for you and you need to look at doing something else. But make sure that you're kind of honest with yourself on that and you've actually done enough to help make the business successful. It is not a straight line up. There are times where the business does great and then times where it does not so good. And, it takes a little while for it to come back up. It's a lot like the stock market. There's a reason I like working with small business owners. They understand that the market goes through cycles. Business cycles come, businesses do well, they plateau. Maybe they go down a little bit, then they go back up. It's the same thing with stocks, because when you're investing in stocks, you are investing in a business. So it's not going to be this straight path of just, I started a business and the thing just starts to go up right away. That's not the way it works. And so again, that goes back to your expectations, your timeline, and really, is it something that you're passionate about? And we've said this from day one, episode 1 of this podcast. But I mean, if you're starting a business or looking to do something just because you think you can make a lot of money, that is not going to be enough to get you through. You really have to have a passion for what you're doing and believe in what you're doing in order for you to make it through the tough times, stay in business long enough so that you can actually become successful at whatever you're working on. So keeping those things in mind, really can provide you with just puts you way ahead of all the other businesses that you're trying to compete against. So again, number 1, is your timeline realistic? Is your timeline realistic? Set up some banking relationships. And you can do this one and like that SBDC, going to the local SBDC in your area and have them help you with your business plan, putting you in touch with bankers, showing you what you're going to need to possibly get a loan for your business. Not having a cushion. Do you need to, keep your day job so that you can work on this dream job? Not pretending to be too big and successful from the get-go where you don't need any help from anybody, right? Do those and then find your why. Why are you looking to do this? What is it that is, what is your why for doing this, and how is that going to keep you motivated when times get tough? right? Those are the things you need to do. Mine on my desk, I mean, you can't see this if you're just listening, but I have this unicorn, little bitty tiny unicorn. So this unicorn reminds me of my daughters. I've had it on my desk for years, 10 years, I guess now. And I look at that, I see my daughters, and I think, man, that's who I'm working hard for. Like I'm working hard for their future, and just something little that can remind you, like, why am I doing what I do? Because there are days that are going to be tough, and you got to fight through them, and your why has to be bigger than those bad days. So if you can do those things, you set yourself up for success. And if you can stay in business long enough, it's luck comes to those who are working hard. So it is a difficult thing. There's a reason that so many small businesses don't actually make it. But we got a tough audience here. We got good people. We got smart people. We got hardworking people. And if you do those things, you do these things, and it's your habits and you're consistent, all of those things equal success. So hope this has been helpful for you. Have a great week. Don't mistake activity for achievement, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.